Hi everybody, I hope you are doing well. Let me get over to the group to where I can see comments. Give me just 1 second. I really hope that you have been enjoying the Summer of Magic event. We have had so much fun putting on this event for you. I can't even tell you how grateful we all are. And everybody has been doing such a great job with their presentations. I've learned so much, so much over the last week about high vibrational beings. I I've learned some things that not even I knew, so that was awesome. And it was even better to kind of see like everybody's individual take. Hi, Adrian's here, Amanda's here, Rachel's here. Hello, can you tell me if you can hear me and see me okay? And can you let me know if the sound and video is good to go? I'm going to be presenting a workshop on unicorns today. Rachel says the expansion has been fantastic. I agree. I definitely feel like I have invited a lot more magic into my life over the course of this week. My lipstick keeps rolling around on the floor. Great. I have my fan on, so if you can hear it, let me know. I'll go ahead and turn it off. But it is like super hot today. It's making my unicorn self sweat a little bit, glisten a little bit. Right on. Okay, so how this is going to work is I'll go ahead and recap a little bit about what we've done this week. Hi, Amethyst. Good to see you. And answer some FAQs again, just so everybody's clear, because we have some new people that have just come into the group that have been kind of catching up, so I want to answer some questions very quickly. And then, by the way, can we just appreciate the fact that I actually got my bangs to curl right today? I curled them like an hour ago, and I'm like, okay, by the time an hour passes, they'll be like perfect. Amanda says, I love them all. Only need to watch the replay of the two from yesterday that I couldn't watch live. Oh, okay. Yes, wonderful. And what this says, hello, happy Friday. Happy Friday. Hi, Catherine. Good to see you. Okay, so very quickly, replays. Replays will be available up until Friday of next week. So if you are just getting into the group and you haven't had a chance to watch everybody's presentation, don't worry about it. You've got all of this weekend, you've got all tonight, you've got all next week to watch the replays. After next week is passed, on Friday of next week, I'm going to be personally leaving my video up for a little while, but then it's going to be up to everybody individually if they want to take their videos down and put it up in their shop for passive income, or if they want to put it into their membership site or something like that. So some of us will be leaving our videos up, some of us will be taking them down. So you have until next Friday. Hi Monique, good to see you. Oh yes, Catherine, Victoria's was awesome. Victoria's was really, really good. Mary says, I've been watching all the replays as this is only the second presentation I managed to get to participate in live. Oh, well, Mary, I'm very honored that you could come and hang out with me. I feel very honored. Hi, Anna. Yes, okay, so we're going to go ahead and start my workshop now. Does anybody have any questions about replays or availability or the ability to watch replays? I think we're all pretty clear on that, yeah? I'm going to go through my workshop here. I'm going to try to keep it under an hour. And if we go over a little bit, that's okay. I'm going to give you guys the PDF when we get a little bit closer to the ending time. And then after that, we are going to do the prize raffle for the people who attended live streams. We are running a separate kind of like prize system that if you came to live streams and or participated in them by asking insightful questions or contributing to the conversation, you had a chance to win a special gift from one of us presenters. And so when I get done with my unicorn workshop, I will be going over all of that and we'll be doing the giveaway. So stay tuned for that, but I understand if you need to come back and watch this later. Okay, hi Pamela, hi Kim, hi Patty, hi Kai, and And then don't worry, I will be giving you the PDF a little bit later, but I want you to stick around as long as you can. Hi, Inger, and I know that we have some deaf or near deaf people in this group. So I have opted, as you can see, I have opted to go ahead and put the workshop PDF right here so you can follow along with me as we go along. Patty says, woohoo, this is my first one, and I get a unicorn other than the ones on Asana. Very good. Okay, so I'm putting you guys over on the second monitor so I can check in with comments here and every now and again. And we're going to get started. So my first question to you is, how long have you been working with the unicorns already, if you already have been? If you're like me, this has probably been like a lifelong thing for you, or perhaps you're kind of new to unicorns and maybe you don't really work with unicorns right now, or maybe you want to, or you're interested in how, they can help you. And I would love to know, do you work with unicorns right now? Have you had a lifelong love affair with unicorns like me, or is this something kind of new to you? And while you guys are answering, I will go ahead and introduce myself. So, hi, most of you know me, but if you don't know me, my name is Christina Quick. I am the admin here. This is my group that I run. I'm the Dean and High Priestess. I'm a second degree High Priestess through the High Corel Nativist tradition, and a first degree High Priestess through the Aquarian Tabernacle Church, which is like a Wiccan but / interfaith kind of divinity school. And I personally run the Angelic Realm Seminary, which is an online interfaith divinity and business school. And what I do is I teach and I prepare students for the world of online spiritual coaching. And that can manifest in a variety of ways. But most typically I work with tarot card readers, oracle readers. I also work with spiritual life coaches. They could be anything from a general life coach to a health and wellness life coach. And I also work a lot with energy healers and Reiki people and people like that. Pretty much it's a school for light workers. If you are doing good in the world and you want to use your intuitive gifts and your psychic abilities, I can teach you how to basically monetize your gifts in a way that doesn't sacrifice your integrity and your authenticity, which for us is major because we're, highly sensitive people. We're empaths. We're very sensitive to other people's motives. We're very sensitive to bad marketing and predatory kind of sales and things like that. So I actually worked full time. I had gotten laid off / quit my job in, 2011, Thanksgiving 2011. And I found the psychic hotlines and I started working on the psychic hotlines. And I was on there plus building my own business on Etsy and then building my own business on Facebook for about 5 years. I did that full time, Monday through Friday, 40, 50 hours a week. And when I first started out, I was going through, I posted an interesting post in the group yesterday if you go to hashtag, you can either find it going through hashtag Heart Center Chat, or you can find it if you look in the tag section on the upper right hand side of the group. You'll see Heart Center Chat, and you can click that and it'll bring up all of the Heart Center Chat. And I asked a question yesterday that was about how did you begin your spiritual awakening, because what I found is that for most people, it's either something like a dark night of the soul, or some sort of traumatic event, like a near-death experience. Or for some people, they literally just wake up and they download this mass amounts of information. It's kind of like a switch just kind of turns on. And I was really curious about how everybody kind of came to their spiritual awakening. And for me, it was the dark night of the soul. I was in a really bad place in my life. I was making a lot of poor decisions, and I was making a lot of mistakes, and I was not treating myself very well. I was not treating the people around me very well. I was a substance abuser. I was manic depressive. I was having suicidal thoughts. And I was keeping this all together while trying to be a hairstylist, which was my previous incarnation, my previous job. I was a hairstylist, which really wasn't a job. It was just like playing dress up, professionally, and playing slumber party professionally. Um, but I ended up finding myself laid off due to some poor decisions by the management, by the people who owned the company. They had basically gone into bankruptcy and didn't tell us, and then the day before Thanksgiving break, basically they sat us down and they said that, hey, we're closing, don't bother coming back. And that was a really low point for me because the previous year I had been dealing with bounced paychecks, like they'd been bouncing my paychecks. So at that point I had gotten lost my apartment, lost my car. Um, what else did I lose? I lost pretty much everything. Like I had nothing. I had like $200 in the bank. Like that was it. Like I really didn't have anything. And I was going through this process of trying to find some way to earn money from home or to start my own business. And I actually started out trying to do a product-based business, which was going to be soaps and lotions and bath salts and like herbal things and stuff like that, which in retrospect was actually a very good idea, but I didn't have the business know-how to sell those products. And so what ended up happening is I would sell like one or two, and I would make all of this product and I would put it on the shelf and it would just go bad. So I was like, okay, I need to figure out a different way to make money that isn't using products with a shelf life. And I had been going through, now, oh, my father-in-law passed away from a stroke, and I was his end-of-life caregiver, and I had just planned his celebration of life ceremony, and we had gotten through that, and I was in the process of cleaning out the garage and going through all of his things, because you know that process, like you have to, after a loved one passes, and you have to go through everything that they own and decide what you're gonna keep and what you're going to donate and things like that. In that process, I came across a tarot deck that my mom had bought me when I was 12 years old, 12 or 11 years old, something like that. It was a Mythic Tarot, by the way, by Liz Green or Liz Dean. I can't remember who. I can't remember her last name. And I was like, and it's actually a miraculous story. Sorry, there's a piece of hair in my face. It's actually kind of an interesting story because if you go to my sales page for my course, just kind of off on a tangent real quickly, makeyourbusiness.com, if you scroll all the way down to like the middle where there's like my bio, you can actually, there's a podcast I did with one of my business besties, Heather Woodward. She and I recorded that whole thing. So if you are interested in learning why it was more magical than the time I have to share with you today, I invite you to go listen to that because it was pretty interesting how that all kind of happened. But I started on the psychic hotlines. Liz Green, thank you, Karen. I started on the psychic hotlines, and just through pure willpower alone, I was able to dig myself out of debt and things like that. And I really loved my Mythic Tarot, but I didn't really connect with it. And at the time, and I know she gets a lot of flack, but Doreen Virtue was queen for the longest time, and I had really connected with her messages of positivity and healing because I was in such a dark place, and I really needed that light. I was really attracted to the light that she offered and the light that she emanated. So I was like, okay, I need me some of that. I need me some of that goodness because I'm in a really bad place right now. And so I ended up buying the Angel Tarot. And I ended up thinking, I never had really, I mean, I had seen angels. I had angelic experiences before, but I had never, like, connected with the angelic realm the way that I am connected now. A couple things a couple experiences I had was when I was a child, when I was like 3, 4, 5 maybe. My aunt would babysit me while my mom worked because I grew up in a single parent home and with my mother who owned her own business, which is part of where I get that drive from. It's inherited. But And I remember being with my aunt, and I remember sitting somewhere. I can't remember where we were. I can only, basic snapshot. But I remember seeing these twinkling lights like all around me. And I asked my aunt, I said, I see these lights. What are these? And she goes, oh, they're angels. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I kind of grew up with this belief that if you see, sparkling lights, it's angels. And that was actually a memory that I had kind of pushed down and suppressed for a while. And then when I was 17, I finally got my license in October. I had been driving around a little bit, and I was on that Christmas, I was coming home. I was driving myself home late at night from a Christmas party, from a family Christmas party. And I wasn't drinking or anything. I was only 17 or 18, something like that. I was coming home, and where I grew up was like the middle of the desert. Like there's no lights. There's just the middle of the desert. A very small town in the middle of the desert. Lake Havasu City, if you're interested. And so when you're driving around at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can't really see anything. And it's a town that was at that point very notorious for its four-way stops. Well, I had come upon this four-way stop, the same four-way stop that I had come upon hundreds, thousands of times before, and I was going through the stop sign, and I actually got T-boned by someone else. Neither one of us had saw each other, and we just got into an accident. And she hit me on this side. She hit me on the front side of the car this way, and she got me pretty good. She dented in the side of the car to where I couldn't get out, and my legs were trapped, and I was okay, but I was just scared because it was a traumatic experience. Well, after the initial crunch happened, I look up and I see this woman at the side of my car, and she asked me if I'm okay, like instantaneously. Like we hit, and then I look up and she's there in the middle of the desert, okay? And it's not the other person in the car. And then the other person in the car who hit me, she didn't even see this person. I didn't look up at that point. I just said, yeah, I'm okay. And she said, I'm going to call 911. And I said, okay. And when I finally went over to, look at her and thank her, she was gone. And when I think back, to like what she actually looked like and stuff, I can't even remember. And I know part of that is because of the traumatic event, but I literally can't remember what she looked like. And that's a thing that happens sometimes when you are having an angelic presence, or having an angel that is embodying a humanoid kind of form, and to help you in that moment. Yeah. So I've had a couple angelic experiences, but then I found the Angel Tarot and I started connecting with them. And then from there, I really started connecting with unicorns, because unicorns are also part of the angelic realm. That's kind of how this all ties in. Because you're like, why am I talking about angels? But that's why I have the Angelic Realm Seminary. That's why I worked with angels for a really long time, still do. And that's how I initially came to start seeing unicorns as... I was obsessed with unicorns when I grew up. Like, I have an entire unicorn vintage collection. Everything's unicorns. So that has been a lifelong, like, since out of the womb, I've always loved unicorns. But it wasn't until I really started getting involved in the angelic realm and angelic beings that I actually started, like, really connecting with unicorns and seeing them something as more than just a cute little figurine, or, some sort of fantasy mythological creature. It was when, I guess it was when unicorns became real for me. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go back and read comments here in just a moment. Let's see. So, okay, a lot of you are pretty new to unicorns, but a lot of you have also been working with them since you were a little girl. Yeah. Amanda says, I fell in love with unicorns about a year ago, but haven't actually worked with them. Awesome. You will after today. Mary says, I have been fascinated with unicorns, but have not worked with them. Very good. Hi, Karen. Hi, Victoria. Good to see you. Patty says, you work with all the women that I help get on stages, interviews, and excel in modern media. Love it. Yeah, we're in a very parallel field, aren't we, Patty? We're in a very parallel field. It's pretty interesting, huh? Patty says, I'll be transparent here. I took 127 sleeping pills and a bottle of vodka, parked my car on the tracks, and then somehow drove to get help. Wow. You must have really had a strong will to live. 4 days in a coma, everything I remember to this day never happened. I have pushed my intuitive gifts aside after another major trauma. Now I've just blossomed again, and for good this time. Thank you for being so honest. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. When we share our stories, both the good and the bad, we give people permission to also be honest with their stories too. Oh, well, thank you, Patty. I'm honored that you feel comfortable sharing that here. Yep, Mary says she did the same thing. She did the same thing. Yeah. Yeah, you guys connected with Doreen that way as well. Okay. So yeah, lots of dark nights of the souls here. Patty says, I was an infant when my mother saw a spirit in my room. I had gotten trapped and she helped me. Wow. Mary says she has seen an angel. I used to suffer from sleep apnea. I actually have sleep apnea. I thought I was going to die. I sat up in bed and saw a beautiful glowing being in the doorway. Wow. Wow. I wish I had my old unicorn stuff, Kai says. I'm interested in your talk because I haven't studied unicorns yet. Awesome. Well, we're going to get to that here in just a moment. Marlene says, I love your transparency and inner strength. And that's what we're going to talk about the unicorns. For all the fluff and flack that they get, they really are a symbol of strength. Yep. Mm-hmm. Victoria says, my first grown-up client was from Lake Havasu. She called the wrong number and we hooked up. I read her for years. Oh, really? It's, for how small Lake Havasu is, it's really amazing how, it's really amazing how many people I speak to that are from there or know people from there. It's bizarre. And so, over the course of a couple years, I was able to I learned how to, start a business from home using my psychic abilities, literally creating money out of thin air, like real money magic. All I needed was a deck of tarot cards, which I was pretty good at that anyways from doing haircuts because I could create money out of thin air with a pair of scissors and a comb. And I always thought that was a really cool thing that, I could go anywhere and cut hair. All I need is my scissors and my comb. And then I, really getting to where I was using tarot cards and doing tarot readings professionally and astrology charts and things like that. It was another one of those things like literally creating money out of thin air. And it's really cool to be able to do that and to be able to go anywhere you want and to be able to do that. And then over the course of about 5 years or so, I started developing a signature reading. My signature reading was a divine life purpose reading that took into consideration your sun, moon, rising, and your life path numbers. And I was able to kind of help start people down the path of offering their gifts or exploring their gifts too. And then I started out with an angel course, and then by year 5, I think this is year 6. Year 4 or 5, I got to the point where people started actually asking me how to build a business, and so I started coaching and moving into coaching full time in end of 2016. So that's pretty much where I'm at. That's a very short snippet of where I've been and what it's taken to get to this point where I am now. Yeah, I agree, Pamela. Okay, so what and where is the angelic realm? Well, the angelic realm is not so much a place in time and space, in my opinion, though if you have different opinions and different beliefs, I encourage you to explore those and just to listen with an open mind. Our beliefs and how we view things like angels and spirit guides and things like that, it is such a personal and subjective experience that I'm not presenting to you in any way, shape, or form what it actually is. I simply would love to just share my experience with you as it has been unraveled to me. So I have heard a lot of great presenters this week talking about this theme. And this is a theme that I'm really excited to talk about because it seems like we're all kind of like on the same page with this. And I'm going to present it through, first through a little bit of science and then through a little bit of woo. So, how many of you have actually heard of the multiverse theory? How many of you are science, astronomy, astrophysics, theoretical science, theoretical physics, metaphysics? How many of you are like geeking out about that kind of stuff? Like, I know I am, but I'm also a starseed and I'm also an air sign, so that's like in my element. So there is this theory in science called the multiverse theory. And the multiverse theory is a hypothetical means a hypothetical group of multiple separate universes, including the universe in which humans live. Yes, okay, so we have some science people here. Cool. But since this is only a theory, I will present to you my spiritual and theoretical scientific beliefs on how this actually works. Although every day, more and more, science kind of backs what we psychics have kind of known all along to be true, and how our, psychic ability works and things like that. But there's also another part of the multiverse theory. So we have the multiverse theory, which is multiple dimensions, multiple planes of existence, if you will, existing all within the same space, but at different frequencies, okay? At different vibrational frequencies. String theory now is the part that actually connects the other separate dimensions. And it's how our guides are able to connect with us, and how other types of beings that may not necessarily be elemental beings, but maybe other high vibe beings like extraterrestrials, councils of previous civilizations that have lived here but maybe have extended masters, that sort of thing. So there's so many layers to the different types of energetic beings out there. And string theory, I think, explains a lot. With string theory, it's basically a theoretical framework in which the point-like particles of particle physics are replaced by one-dimensional objects called strings. So it's kind of hard to imagine this, but I'm going to show you a model here in a moment that may kind of clarify this for you a little bit. And what this means is that these are like super highways that if we can learn to tap into and utilize and harness, it is very possible that we could learn how to visit these other technologies and these other places. And I strongly feel that there are other dimensions out there that are much more advanced than us, that have harnessed the ability to utilize these superhighways and to travel to our plane and to be able to interact with us, the environment, our world, that sort of thing. Victoria says, it's funny my mom used to call them layers of life when I was a little girl. Yeah, so this is like primal information that we all have, but science is just now kind of starting to explain. And this means that while the infinite number of universes all exist within their own frequency, we are linked together by these strings. And what we do in one universe may alter the fate of another parallel universe. Pretty interesting, right? And okay, so I'm talking about frequency. What does frequency mean? So we know now, it's scientifically proven, we know now that all matter is the resting energy of vibrating particles. We feel solid because our vibration, our resting energy of our vibration is very low. If on a scale, at the top being the fastest vibration and the bottom being the slowest vibration, physical matter, we're down here somewhere on the list. We're very dense. Our universe, the matter, the building blocks that make up our universe is very, very dense, which can give the illusion of solid matter. But it's really interesting to know that although we have our bodies and everything else around us, like everything else here, everything that you can see, it's actually not really solid. It's actually vibrating at a frequency, but it's very, very, very low. Okay? It's very slow. But your body, everything in existence is the humming collection of atoms that is held together by millions, literally millions, of tiny little force fields that are just kind of, it looks, looks like an egg. If you crack an egg open in your pan, you have the yolk, which is like the main matter, and then you have like this sort of amniotic force field around it that kind of keeps it together. And if you can imagine, every single tiny little bit of matter, every single atom is surrounded by these force fields. And these force fields will interact with one another. They'll either attract one another or they'll repel one another. And so when you have all of these collective clumps that we appear to be solid. From the single cell amoeba to the Milky Way and beyond, all physical matter is simply a collection of vibrating atoms formed into clumps of similar, like matter and vibrational frequency to form solid matter as we understand it. Yeah, Catherine, check out, there's been so many good, there's like so many, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Stephen Hawking, all have documentaries out where you can learn more about this. Some of them are on Netflix too. Some of them are, is it the national, it's not National Geographic, I can't remember what the channel is, but if you guys are interested in more about that, I can try to find those documentaries for you. I know the fields are amazing to think about. Adrian says, this is one of my favorite things to learn about, how all the energy and realms connect. It's fascinating. Yeah, and so when we say, like attracts like with the law of attraction, I think it goes further than that. I don't think it's just physical matter. I think it's also mental matter. And, attracting yourself to people who kind of feel and believe and think the same way. But it's also a physical thing too, which is for empaths, when you are meeting someone who has a certain type of energy that is repelling you, we all know as empaths, it's not just mental, but it's also physical. We feel the physical drain, and that's because not only are our thoughts vibrations and frequencies, but everything is, and we're all literally just resounding off each other, and we're all either going towards each other or we're all repelling from one another. The History Channel, yes, thank you. So is it not plausible that there are other life forms of matter with different ratios of rest energy operating within the same time and space, but at a different vibrational frequency that doesn't interact or interfere with our own? So what if we have something that is vibrating at a higher frequency, like light or radio waves, things like that? You can't see the radio waves in the air. You can't really perceive them. You need a special tool to perceive them. But it doesn't mean that they're not there. And there's so many different things like this around us. Dark matter, for instance, is a good example of that. It is not something we can perceive, but we know it has its own intrinsical force, and it affects our reality. But we can't really perceive that unless we have the certain tools to be able to do that. Yeah. And so what if these things also have their own perspective of existence too? And what if we could harness how to utilize string theory to send messages from one dimensional frequency to another? We could possibly have real-time conversations, not just psychic conversations, but real-time conversations. And what if some of us are actually doing that right now, and we just don't know how we're doing it, but we're still doing it, right? You don't have to know how to do something to do something. And it's my personal belief that psychics can already accomplish this through the will of the mind, through the sixth sense, and I think science is going to catch up. And although this sounds like futuristic thinking, this multidimensional concept is the foundation of one of the oldest spiritual philosophies and magical traditions called Kabbalah. Those of you who are in the mentorship program and or have bought the How to Give the Most Epic Tarot Readings for Chakra Readings, if you haven't done that, you might want to consider picking up that workshop, because in that workshop I talk a lot about Kabbalah, and I talk about the different planes of existence, and it kind of helps just explain a little bit more than what the time I have available to teach it today. But yeah, so Kabbalah is probably one of the oldest forms of this multiverse theory, a two-dimensional representation of it that we have. Another two-dimensional representation that we have is the flower of life, where you have all of these circles kind of interlinking that is a model of not just how cells form, but how matter forms and how pretty much everything in our known universe kind of forms. And over the with the Kabbalah, um, it's each circle. If you look over here, there is a map of the Kabbalah. How many people have seen this before? How many people have seen the map of Kabbalah before? Or the Tree of Life, as it is called, even if you don't really know much about it or anything like that. But I'm sure most of you have seen this diagram before, correct? So if you look at all of these little circles, these are all emanations of different types of dimensions, different planes of existence, if you will. And at the very, very top is the Godhead, or the source, the place, the creator. And at the very bottom, that very bottom circle is us. It's the world, the earth plane. It's the realm of mankind. It probably looks very similar to Yggdrasil, which is the Nordic tree of life, which is based on a similar philosophy that there are different realms in different worlds, and they all kind of exist individually, but they all exist on top of one another too. It's kind of a deep concept, but it's the same kind of thing with there. Oh, lovely. Oh, lovely, Kimberly. Yeah. Mary says, I studied Kabbalah for a short time years ago. I don't think I was ready. Here's the thing with Kabbalah is that you can literally study it for like 3 lifetimes and barely scratch the surface of it. It is such a deep concept. Every time I teach anything about Kabbalah or read anything about Kabbalah, it's like there's just more and more layers to it. There's more and more revelations and enlightenment to it. It's such a deep thing. But you may be more familiar with the 3D model, which is called the Merkaba. Many of you have seen it. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-pointed star. It's a 7-pointed 3D 7-pointed star. Many of you are familiar with that. Excuse me. And the Merkaba represents the union of the higher realms and the lower realms into the seat of consciousness, the Christ consciousness, the heart chakra. More on that in that workshop if you would like to enroll in that. So where is the angelic realm actually located? So if you look on this map here, you'll see God at the top, you'll see humans at the bottom, and you'll see this pink rectangle, or triangle, excuse me, in the middle. And this triangle represents the plane of Bariah. There's 4 worlds in Kabbalah. There's 4 different elemental worlds in Kabbalah. Fire, water, air, earth, okay? With fire being the God, fire being up at God, and earth being at humans. And so Bariah is the world of water. And this is where the angelic realm is represented on the map of Kabbalah. So like I said, it's not really like a physical space necessarily. It could be to their vibrational frequency, but from our perspective, it's not something that is like tangible for us. Like we can't necessarily perceive it. And then as you can see, the triangle is pointed downwards, meaning the angelic beings can phase from the angelic realm to the physical realm at will through the strings, sound familiar, right? That connect our dimensions to help us as emissaries of heaven and the will of the divine. Does everybody kind of understand what I mean by that? I know this is a new concept for a lot of you, but let me know if you have any questions about that. So how does the angelic realm relate to unicorns? Good question. Well, we tend to think of the angelic realm as the realm of angels, and it is. There are other different vibrational beings that exist within the same realm. Thinking back to the definition of an angel is a being of light. We tend to imagine humanistic beings with large, fluffy white wings. However, this is only the form that angels take on when they travel to the lower dimensions or the realms of mankind in order to appear less frightening. And this has been a trial and error thing. In fact, if you look back to biblical accounts of angels, you will often find that they are counted as being terrifying looking monsters, some as tall as entire planets. And often they'll be described as like mangled looking, or I've even seen them described as like half machine or made up of several limbs. I mean, if you think of Metatron, Metatron is one of the most popular angels. If you think of Metatron, he's said to be made almost entirely of eyeballs. And that would freak me out. If I saw this being appear to me that was just made up of eyeballs, I would be freaked out. So, during the Renaissance, they started, painters and expressionists started beginning to paint angels more as these humanistic, white, fluffy winged creatures. And I think angels kind of took a cue from that and decided to start incarnating as something a little less intimidating. Patty says, I'm still in the right place. My new direction for media, marketing, public relations is all around the elements, chakras. Aries on fire, Phoenix rising, holistic and intuitive PR. That's wonderful. I love that. I love that very, very much. And so who are the unicorns? Okay, so the unicorns are seventh dimensional beings of light. How did I get seventh dimension? Well, if you start at the bottom here, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we start at this little circle right here. So there's 7, 6, and 5. 7, 6, and 5th dimension is typically where the angels inhabit, or the unicorns inhabit. I personally feel that unicorns are just a manifestation of angels. I feel like they are just, angels are technically light beings. They're made of light, right? And so they don't really have a form. So this whole like concept that we feel angels are humanoid or humanistic looking with big fluffy white wings, that's sort of like something that we have made up and interpreted ourselves. So for me, unicorns and angels, they're kind of the same thing. They're just a different manifestation of the same type of light being. Okay. So did the unicorns ever exist physically? So this is kind of a matter that's up for debate. I personally believe that they did, and I'm going to present this in the way that I feel that they did. But again, if you don't feel that they ever existed and you feel that they are more of that they have always been a spiritual being or an energetic being, follow that. Do whatever feels comfortable and feels right to you. But I'm going to approach this as if they did once exist. So, to me, yes, the unicorns did exist physically on the earth plane. Like how the Godhead has chosen to incarnate billions of times into the bodies of humans, animals, life forms, if you believe in reincarnation. So too, the unicorn is simply another manifestation of our shared Godhead. Because if you think about angels, they were created first, right? And then they became charged with the duty of watching over mankind and helping mankind, like being our nurses, being our nannies, that type of thing. And I feel personally that, we've all kind of started out as being of light, that we're all actually made of the same things that angels are, that we're all made of the same things that unicorns are. It's just that we have chosen, for whatever reason, whether we chose that ourselves or whether that was something that was just part of the deal that we didn't get to agree to, and it was just kind of like a random RNG type of situation, is I feel that we all kind of started out as the same thing, emanations of source. And while we're all kind of living our unique purpose right now, in a series of now moments, right, on the line of linear time, this perception of linear time, I feel that we should understand that angels, unicorns, and other vibrational beings are more like cousins to us and are more like us than we realize. Since the unicorns existed first at a vantage point in the higher realms, they have a better perspective of this than us. We often feel, as humans, very disconnected from our source. It's because we're pretty much on the complete other side of everything. and we have decided to incarnate as like the least inherently magical or supernatural type of beings that do exist, because we came here to have a human experience. I can't tell you why. I'm not sure why I did. I'm not sure why you did. But all I know is that obviously we are embodying a human body for a reason. And I just have to believe that there is a reason for that. That there is a grand, I have to believe that there's a grand plan for that, right? The unicorn saw mankind was suffering like the angels. Typically, typically when you see angels in biblical accounts anyways, it was not a good thing. That was a herald of something bad stuff was about to go down. It could be like, it could be a like world event that destroyed a lot of things. It could be war. It could be so many negative things. But typically speaking, seeing angels from a biblical account was not a good thing. It basically, they were heralds saying, hey, like, stuff's about to go down, you all better prepare, you know? And I feel that angels and unicorns, I feel that unicorns specifically saw that. They saw that we were suffering. We were warring with one another, we were killing one another. We started the process of agriculture and things like that. And there was a lot of suffering going on. There was disease and illness and things like that. Catherine says, same, Tatiana. I feel very strongly drawn to the angelic rite, but no body or incarnation or geometry. That's okay. These are just extra tools. Like when you think about Kabbalah or sacred geometry or all of these other things, what you have to realize is that they are all just simply tools of expression of the same thing with just a different facet or aspect of that same thing. So some of us may find some sort of information or insight in one thing versus another. And it's simply just a matter of that's just the piece of the puzzle that you were missing. Because, we all have our own life experience that have taught us different things. No one of us are the same as far as like what we know or understand of the universe. And so we're going to naturally find ourselves attracted to certain modalities or tools or expressions that hold a piece of the puzzle for us. Amethyst says, I feel we decided to come here to learn to become creator god, goddesses. I like that perspective a lot. Patty says, do past lives or the deja vu experience come through the angelic realm? Sorry if I'm the wrong thought on this. Now, for that would be like more ancestral type of stuff, and I feel that I personally feel that it is somewhere between the top triangle of the Godhead and the angelic realm. Yes, I personally feel, but we also have to distinguish the difference between ascended masters and saints and ancestors. Ascended masters and saints can also be ancestors and vice versa, but ascended masters and saints are more on the angelic realm, and I believe just straight up ancestors, just like people that have gone before us, they are somewhere in the Bariah realm, but they're somewhere just a little bit below that as well. So it's almost kind of like there's a hierarchy when it comes to Kabbalah. I hope that explains that. All right, so where are we at? So unicorn saw mankind was hurting, was full of disease and war, and had, negativity in their heart and things like that. And the first incarnation of unicorns were nothing like the silver-haired, fluffy, iconic images that we have today. That was a Renaissance type of thing. The fluffy white unicorns that we are so iconic today were something that were created as an icon of the Virgin Mary and the Christian mythos during the Renaissance. It was to represent the purity and innocence of Mary. And so it's a little bit different from what the unicorns originally looked like. In fact, like the angels, the first incarnation of the unicorns, in my opinion, I feel, were more beastly, more monstrous. They were more ugly, if you will. They were ferocious and wild beasts that were more physically like a rhinoceros. In contrast to today's symbolism of the unicorn, they were considered ugly, untamable monsters that struck both awe and fear into whomever had the unlucky experience of coming upon one in the wild. And as with all beings who incarnate, we experience what is called spiritual amnesia. So the trade-off of incarnating, the sacrifice of incarnating to Earth, is that we become an individualized being that is separate from the Godhead, of the Godhead, but separate. And as such, we do not initially remember our purpose or our divinity or where we came from, right? That's the sacrifice that we all must make. And whether the light beings who incarnated as unicorns knew this or not is a matter of debate, in theology. But either way, when the unicorns began incarnating onto the earth plane, men were very scared but also intrigued by them. And they first appeared in Africa and India, and they were a sacred animal. They were a very sacred animal, much like the buffalo were a sacred animal to the Native Americans and so on. The original indigenous peoples had a reverence for them. And so part of the traditional wisdom dictated that the powerful healing medicine of the unicorn's horn was something sacred, and something that they believed to be a source of healing. And it's my opinion that the unicorns incarnated into the earth plane to have this respectful exchange with the indigenous people to help them, because again, I feel that they incarnated to be almost used in that way. And I know that's kind of a weird concept to think about, but it's almost like a sacrifice that they had made. As long as the honor was there, as long as the tradition was there, the reverence was there. And you know how indigenous tribes will use up all of the animal. They'll use the skin for clothing and shelter. They'll use the bone for tools. They'll eat every single part of the animal. They'll utilize every single part of the animal in this very, very respectful way. And they'll only take what is needed, right? And so when these tribal peoples would hunt the unicorns for meat, for food, and for bones, for tools, they realized that they could honor the beast by utilizing the magical properties of their single horn in respectful ways. Perhaps the most popular mythos surrounding the unicorn is the magical properties of the horn, also known as the alicorn. So the alicorn was used as a powerful antiviral, antifungal herbal remedy that was in many cases used for sickness and illness. And what they would do is they would ground it up into a paste and use it in various ways. And the unicorns were more than happy to share that in a respectful exchange, which is why they originally incarnated on Earth to begin with. To them, that was fulfilling their purpose. However, as we all know, mankind is greedy and does terrible things, and all good things must come to an end, and mankind's greed and selfishness have contributed to the exploitation of the unicorn. And as we have the Western civilizations that are coming into power, and we have explorations of these indigenous lands and things like that, Western peoples were introduced to the healing magic of the unicorns, and they coveted this magic for themselves because they didn't have anything quite like this where they were, right? The problem became an issue of Western peoples not respecting the tradition of the people, of the indigenous people, and the energetic exchange of what it meant to go on a sacred hunt, and then to utilize, the whole of the animal, which is a theme that, sadly we've seen repeated time and time again. Just think about factory farming right now. It's a horrendous thing. There's zero respect for the animals that we do utilize for our nourishment, for, other ways that we use animals, whether that's through making clothes, making sinew, things like that. So what happened was royalty began sending missions to cultivate the unicorn's horn at all costs because they wanted this for themselves. And alicorn went from being, tools of life for the indigenous people to dinnerware, and fashioned into brooches and jewelry and luxurious items for the rich who would exploit that. And so we have accounts of thrones and cups and plates and eating utensils and things, as well as these fashionable items that were made out of alicorn for those that could afford it. This eventually led to an alicorn black market where poachers were hunt down rhino. I mean, that's why we barely have any rhinos anymore. Elephants, they would hunt down elephants for tusks. They would hunt sea lions. They would hunt narwhals, and they would sell these knockoff alicorn horn powders when man drove the unicorns to extinction, because there's only so many of them around. And with all the respect lost, the light beings incarnated as unicorns, they saw what man was doing to the other animal creatures, and they decided to not stay. They decided to go. They decided to no longer incarnate as magical beings of healing for us, as a gift to us. And, man had become consumed. Man had become greedy. Yeah, the ivory, Rachel. Ivory. Yes, ivory. Which is, if you even look it up right now, I mean, you can look up, like, healing properties of ivory. Like, there's a whole bunch of folklore about the healing properties of ivory and things like that. And, humans got greedy, and the unicorns no longer trusted man. They said, we're out, we're done. You guys are just exploiting us, you're taking advantage of us, you're not respecting us. And so the few unicorns that were left, they went into hiding, and they were never seen from again, which is why you have this lore to the unicorns where they were once a very populated species, and for some reason they disappeared. Yeah, especially the narwhals. Yeah. And so, also, we came upon this thing that would happen as well. How many of you have heard that the unicorns will only show themselves to a virgin or a person pure of heart? How many people have heard of that? So folklore states that the hunt for the unicorn still went on for a time, and only the most overzealous hunting parties might have a glimmer of hope catching a unicorn. Frequently, they would use children and young virginal maidens, people in which innocence and purity was still radiating off of, to lure the unicorns out and to disarm them into believing that they were not in any harm. Sadly, the hunting parties would be waiting in the forest, and just as soon as the unicorn had come out, the hunters would kill the beast, okay? So it was a trap. I mean, you can look this up. This is a real thing. So eventually, all of the unicorns on Earth were killed or went into hiding and, died out their natural lives if possible. And they decided not to incarnate until very recently, within, the past probably couple hundred years, and really within the last decade, here with us, it's just been intensified. Unicorns have been making a comeback. And enough time has passed now that maybe, we have learned from the errors of our ways. And they are appearing, they're choosing not to incarnate physically, but they are choosing to appear energetically to children, and to those that are young at heart especially. So it's no coincidence, in my opinion, that young boys and girls form an early obsession with unicorns. Unicorns have learned that a physical incarnation did not serve their mission, and now they are appearing to us through our sixth sense, and also appearing as an archetype. Because they are more frequently showing themselves to children, they appear as the soft, fluffy white horses that we envision now, as not to scare them. Okay, so they realize that, for whatever reason, that, appearing as they, in the form that they think that they would want to be in, was not going to work out very well. And so now we have the image of the unicorn is this soft, fluffy white unicorn that is not scary whatsoever. And the reason why is because they are targeting children. They're trying to come back to children. And they realize that man, grown-up adult man, is kind of lost. But I feel that the unicorns know inherently that if they can appear to children, and they can start influencing children at an early age, perhaps they don't grow into those evil hunters. Perhaps they don't grow into people that exploit other beings and things like that. So I think it's very intentional that children are the ones that are seeing the unicorns, or have this obsession with unicorns that they can't necessarily explain, right? And because they are more frequently showing themselves to children, they appear as these soft horses. But I feel that they are coming back to help us restore goodness in mankind. I feel that unicorns are so popular right now because we need their message more than ever. But their message of healing has shifted to helping us understand the magic is inside ourselves. It's not an herb, it's not a powder, it's not something outside of ourselves. It is within ourselves to do our own healing. And now, more than ever, they want to help us to follow our own heart and to claim our soul gifts and life purpose. And they will only appear to the children who are meant to do great things in the world with their psychic gifts, which is typically coupled with traumatic childhood. How many of you have seen unicorns from a young age and have also experienced um, a lot of childhood trauma? That's me. So I feel unicorns are appearing to give us hope that despite all of the tragedy and traumatic experiences that we experienced in early childhood, we can still cling on to that goodness and childlike wonder through the unicorns, so we do not grow up to be the hunters, to reconnect us to a time before we learned to hate anything different from us that we didn't understand and to fear. So if you are like me, you probably grew up obsessed with unicorns, but you probably also had some traumatic and tragic events in your childhood, um, some type of dysfunction. So whether you grew up in a broken home or separated, you had divorced parents, or you experienced sexual abuse, or you grew up around alcoholics or substance abusers, um, whether you experienced a loss at an early age that profoundly influenced you, any number of other, tragic events. These children who experience these events tend to develop their intuitive gifts kind of out of necessity to survive, and to navigate these chaotic events, right? And I know for me it was a multitude of things. My father was trying to kill me. My parents were divorced. My father was on drugs and psychotic, schizophrenic. That was my first introduction to the world, was the feeling that someone is trying to kill me. And then, several things happened since then. And then, around age 7, I witnessed my adopted father, my grandfather, the guy that I saw as my father. He passed away right in front of my eyes, and I was locked in a closet for a day and a half and forgotten about because of everything that was going on. And everybody said someone else was going to get me, and nobody else got me, and everybody kind of just, I was left in this house alone for a day and a half, locked in the closet, because some protective person in my family thought that that would be a good place for me to be protected. But in reality, that just kind of fucked me up more. But anyways, so we all have stories like this. My stories are not unique. We all have these things, that have happened to us. And I noticed that I was really drawn to unicorns because they gave me like this sense of goodness in the world, that sort of thing. And, if you grew up, like, for example, I grew up also with an alcoholic grandmother who, she would be your best friend one day and totally hate you, and she was narcissistic. So she would do this whole thing where she would build you up and love you, and then she'd hate you the next day and you were her enemy. But that's a common thing for narcissists and people who are, alcoholics or drug abusers, substance abusers, that sort of thing. And so when you're a child trying to navigate this environment, your intuitive abilities, you have to learn how to use your intuitive abilities. You have to learn how to know when someone is or if you grew up with a parent or someone around you that had a violent temper that would physically abuse you. It's almost kind of like you have to develop these abilities to be able to know when someone is about to, come at you. And so we, children of trauma, and who also have this lifelong affiliation with angels, fairies, unicorns, these mythological supernatural beings, I've noticed that we are hypersensitive to our psychic abilities from a very, very early age. And I believe that is why the unicorns choose us. One, they choose us for trauma. And two, they choose us because they don't want us to grow up into being people that hurt other people or animals, or become a repeat of our past, that sort of thing. Yeah, unicorns and fairies for Victoria. Amethyst says, totally get you on this. Unicorns have been a part of a secret inner life since I was little. Yeah, me too. Me too. And I have tubs and tubs of ponies and unicorns and things at my mother's house. And I would just sit I was an only child too, grew up an only child. And so I would be left alone. But by the time I was able to be left alone, which is like 7 or 8, when I was able to do my own dishes and do my own laundry and things like that, and my mom could leave me home alone while she was at work, after school and things like that, I would just do nothing but go play in my room, and I would set up like a horse stable, and I would set up like different groups of horses, and they would all have their own little agendas and watch My Little Pony and things like that. Yes, my mother was like your grandmother, except without drinking. Oh, and she still is. Marissa says, I love unicorns also. Never saw one, but definitely drawn to them. Pamela says, yep, how to develop knowing intuition to when the next freak out was going to happen. Yep. Catherine says, empath-tuitive. That's an interesting word. I really like that. I really, really like that. Oh, Lynn, you're an only child too. Yeah. Amethyst says, they choose us. Feels so sweet to hear that. I think so. I think so. But do you have to have childhood trauma and things like that to work with unicorns? The answer is no. But what I guess I'm saying here is that the people who have experienced these things tend to have a stronger connection to the unicorns. It's not that you can't develop a relationship to unicorns or have a unicorn guide if you don't have these things. They are accessible to everybody. They want to help everybody, but they particularly try to help the people that need it the most. And while we can't change what has happened to us, we can change and remember the unicorns and listen to their guidance. Unicorns as heart-centered allies. So what does heart-centered mean, especially for me? I mean, this group is called Heart-Centered Spiritual Business Support. I mean, heart-centered is a pretty frequent word that I toss around here. And so what does it actually mean, and what does it mean to attract heart-centered clients and things like that? And so the foundation of being heart-centered means being an ambassador of love, compassion, and light. It does not mean that we spiritually bypass ourselves or that we gloss over negativity or we suppress these negative things or that we don't allow ourselves to feel angry and jealous and spiteful and all of these quote-unquote negative emotions. But we choose, it's a conscious choice to be heart-centered, to choose to alchemize the darkness into light, to alchemize the pain into growth, to alchemize hardship into character, and to alchemize misfortune, things that happen to us out of our control, into opportunity. But it's really difficult to do that by ourselves. It's really difficult to do that alone. Is it impossible? No. But imagine how much easier it would be with a unicorn guide to kind of help you remember your spiritual gift of transmutation. First, it begins with finding the flow of our intuition. We have two different types of intuition, but each type of intuition has its own kind of subsect of intuition. When I say intuition, most people think of psychic abilities. They think of the clairs. They think of being an empath and things like that. But there's a whole other component to intuition that isn't talked about a lot, and science is also backing this up as well. Our heart, our physical heart, and not just our heart, but our heart chakra, like if you could actually think of chakras as being the force fields of energy around certain organs and things like that too. If you want to take it from not just a spiritual place, but a scientific place as well. And it's coming out that our heart actually outputs more vibrational frequencies and waves than our brain does. And that's intense because you think about all of the neurological things, all of the energetic things, electrical things, bioelectrical things that are happening inside our brain right now, which is nothing compared to the bioelectrical signals that are being outputted by the heart. And so when we think of intuition and being heart-centered, I feel that when we find our flow, when we find our connection, and when things start to actually happen for us in the world, especially in our business, when our business starts to take off and we start getting in alignment with the content that we want to create and the people that we want to work with and things like that, we flow. That's called your flow. And I feel your flow is when your heart and your mind, the intuition of your heart and the intuition of your mind are working together harmoniously. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? Hi, Emily. Good to see you. Karen says, that makes perfect sense. I've noticed that children who went through abuse will be hyper aware of noises. Yeah, they thought I was autistic for a long time. I'm not autistic. I'm just hyper aware. I have sound sensitivity as well. And with psychic senses, I suppose we rely on those. Yeah. Whoops. Got ahead of myself here. I love that you acknowledge all the emotions are okay to feel if the reaction and what you choose that is yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Lynn says, oh yes, that's heart math type of thing. I've never actually studied heart math, but I have a feeling that it would be something very similar. Mary says, I was the only child. My dad was an alcoholic and my mom verbally abusive, and I was originally a latchkey kid, raised myself. Yep. We are the wild boys. The feral children. Patty says yes. Marissa says that makes sense. Okay, good. So I want you to think now as the unicorns are giving us the gift of understanding the unicorn's horn as a manifestation tool. You know, we don't need the physical horn to do this, but we can use the energetic unicorn's horn. And the greatest gift the unicorns are giving us right now is to understand that we do not need the alicorn to create healing for ourselves. That the myth of the horn is actually a metaphor. It's an allegory. But how do we do this? We can summon and call in a healing by recognizing that we too have our own alicorn, or cone of power. Some of you may be familiar with this concept through chakra work or through the third eye. The third eye is a vortex of power right between our brows, similar to the location of where the unicorn's horn would be. We can utilize this point of power even more by envisioning the flat space of the third eye into a spiraled cone, identical to what a unicorn's horn might look like. And we can utilize this point of power by, we can manifest more quickly, we can manifest more efficiently. It's almost like creating a string to whatever it is that you're trying to find, bring to you, or manifest in this world. It's like taking your third eye chakra and putting a laser beam on it and saying, I want to go right here. And so if you focus on building up the energy of your third eye and focusing on the 3D aspect of it versus just the 2D aspect of it, you're going to find that you're going to manifest quicker. You're going to find that you're going to manifest a lot more effortlessly, and you're going to find that it's going to happen for you in a way that it's like almost it's like there's no question that it was for you and that you actually manifested this for yourself. And it's almost kind of like you can, if you learn how to utilize your own personal cone of power, you can use this as a tool to kind of hone in on what it is you're looking for, almost like a beacon, if you will. Kind of like a magic wand, absolutely. Victoria, yes. Catherine says, I want to take this to another level. My brain is my main concern with epilepsy, but my flow is in alignment with what I'm finding is amazing. Rachel says, I carried my own trauma for years, but once things started clicking, it helps us feel that flow come back. Yeah, mind blown. Yay. I'm glad this is new information for a lot of you. My only regret is I didn't share it sooner than today. But, all things happen for a reason in their own divine timing. So, but I want you to try it for yourself, okay? So the next time that you do any type of psychic abilities, I don't know about you, but when I'm doing like remote viewing or something, when we're in the psychic circle, which is my psychic development program, if you are interested in getting on the wait list, if you go to my website, angelicrealmseminary.com, you'll see at the very top there's a menu that says the psychic circle. It'll lead you to a page. You can sign up on the wait list and you can put an application in. I only open it up to 10 people at a time. I think we're on session 4 at 12, something like that. But I'll be opening up again next year. But anyways, if you see me, if you're in the psychic circle with me, sometimes you'll see me going like this. You'll see me touching my forehead, kind of like in a circle, or you'll see me kind of tapping on my forehead when I'm trying to get psychic information. And what that does is when I'm doing that, I'm literally imagining a horn, like coming out, sprouting from my forehead and kind of spiraling along, and I use that to kind of help me go towards what it is, the information that I am seeking. Nice. So imagine that, and you can use your own personal alicorn horn to hone in on your manifestation and to create a path of flow by linking up your third eye and your heart chakra, which will help you manifest easier and with less effort. Okay, so I want to just briefly talk about my unicorn guides. We're almost to the end of the workshop here, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about like the gift I've given you, and the meditation that I have for you and things. But I just kind of want to talk to you a little bit about how I personally work with the unicorns. And I have two specific unicorn guides. So you can create what is called a magical thought form, or you can create your own type of unicorn guide. And I give you a meditation and a journal thing to go through that. But the first unicorn guide that ever came to me is a black unicorn with little gray spots and silver hair and a silver horn. So would the technique of visualizing your third eye work the same? Yeah, just take it to a 3D level. Just imagine it kind of spiraling outwards. Absolutely. Patty says, when I'm around or see horses, I am taken to another place. The same when I see walk on or even photograph a spiral staircase. Yeah, there's also the golden ratio too. I mean, spirals are very deeply embedded in our reality as well. So there's a lot to that. It can go very deeply. You don't have to, but what I do personally, Rachel, is I just, whenever I think of that space kind of opening or doing the physical tapping, I just kind of imagine it kind of coming out. Yeah. And so the first guide that I ever created or met, is his name is Storm Chaser. I call him Storm for short. He doesn't let me call him Stormy. I really want to, but he won't let me, and he yells at me. He yells at me when I try to call him by pet names. He says, no, it's Storm, and that's it. Okay. So my first unicorn guide is Storm Chaser. He's a male presence and is all black with spots of gray, with a gray mane. And his horn is silver, and his hooves are silver as well. Storm is a guide that I created when I was coming out of the dark night of the soul, that experience that I told you about when we first began. When I was first getting into psychic work and things like that. Because I found as an empath, I would be coming up against kind of a lot of negativity every day, especially in the hotlines. And so Storm was created as a magical thought form to kind of help me navigate that. And he's kind of this gruff, kind of old, grumpy man type of energy. And he really helps me with shadow work. So when I work with Storm, actually Storm is with me all the time. He's in the room with me right now. I have held Storm as a magical thought form in my mind for so long now that he's just here. He's just here. It's much like most of you love animals, right? Most of you love animals. And so if you can think back to an animal that you had for several years and that suddenly passed away, it's like when you think about that animal, you can envision everything about them. You can feel them, you can hear them, their mannerisms, that sort of thing. But it's almost like a 3D, it's almost kind of like a layover of your reality, where it's like I'm not like seeing him physically, but I'm seeing him as a projection through my third eye, if that makes sense. So, or like a loved one that has passed on, like an ancestor, like you know their mannerisms, you know how they talk, you know their personality, you know what they look like, you know what they would probably say to you. But they're passed on, but you still have that like imprint of their energy. That's what a magical thought form is like for me. I can still see him, and he's always like in the corner of my eye, hanging out somewhere. He's with me all the time, and he is my protector. He's my very strong protector. And whenever I'm doing any type of healing work or shadow work, I call Storm and I say, hey, we've got to get to work. We've got to do some shadow work now. I need you to go in. I need you to scope it out. He's almost kind of like my general. Like he's my front lineman. He will go in and he will assess the situation, and he will come back and he will report the good and the bad. And he'll be like, well, it's really bad over here, and this is what we need to do. And it's like he'll tell me what it is so that I can work with it from a distance. Like, so I don't have to go into other people's energies and auras, and I don't have to go into like their blocks and their attachments and things they have. He's like my front line of defense, and he is really good at that, and he's really good at just telling me the truth. He'll be like, this is what it is, what do you want to do about it? It's your call, that sort of thing. And as an empath, this has really helped me. It's helped me learn how to detach from other people's negativity, other people's negative energy, because all I have to do is send Storm in to tell me and to go kind of figure out what the situation is to report back to me so that I can, utilize that information in whatever way I see fit without actually having to go there myself. He's my recon soldier. Yeah, he's my recon. Absolutely. Rachel says, would a block come up if you've never really had an animal? No. I don't think so. It's more like a familiar, it seems, but I've never even. Yes. A magical thought form can be a familiar. A familiar can be a physical animal, but it can also be a magical thought form as well. So yeah, it's basically like having a familiar, but an energetic one, if that makes sense. But he has a distinct personality, and he speaks in a gruff, duh, you should have already known that type of voice. He's like, he just tells me what it is, straight up. And he's beautiful. He's gorgeous. He's like, when I first met Storm, I was like, black unicorn. I'm like, but yeah, I guess they could come in any color, couldn't they? I mean, they present themselves as the form that you most need to have at that point. So why not a black unicorn? Why not a purple unicorn? Why not a speckled rainbow unicorn? Why not? It could be anything. Okay, so my second guide is Softwind. Softwind is fairly new to me. She's only been with me for a couple years, about 2 or 3 years. And she is actually a pegacorn. She not only is a unicorn, but she's also a Pegasus. She has wings as well. And Softwind is totally different than Storm. It's a feminine energy. It's kind of like an older feminine voice. Sometimes she comes across in kind of like a British accent sort of thing, but she's really fussy though. She's very fussy. She doesn't like to get dirty. She's like, do we have to? She's like that kind of personality. Whereas Storm's like, I'm on it. Softwind is just kind of like, if we have to. You know what I mean? She's kind of prissy a little bit. But unlike Storm, who often runs in without fear, Softwind is a little bit more reserved. And Softwind, however, she is not with me all the time like Storm is. Like, I can see Storm all the time, but Softwind is, she only comes when I call her. She has a very specific purpose. That may change in the future, but right now that is our dynamic, and I think that's just because we're just really getting to know one another. But whenever I work with Softwind, I call her in whenever I need to do some sort of astral traveling or remote viewing as well. So Softwind accompanies me when I'm doing shamanic journeying or astral traveling. Quite frequently, I close my eyes and I will just envision hopping on her back. And she is kind of like my spiritual GPS when I'm using my clairvoyant abilities. So not only do I use my cone of power, but I also utilize Softwind as my GPS. And so part of using your psychic abilities, and especially if you are clairvoyant and you do a lot of remote viewing, part of the block that I see that comes up with a lot of people is that they don't know how to take themselves from point A to point B. So I have eliminated that out of the equation. And so I envision myself hopping on the back of Softwind, and I say, Softwind, you take me there. I don't need to know where we're going. You can take me there. And so it eliminates the pressure of having to know whether or not, I'm at that place, remote viewing or not. And it eliminates the pressure of having to know all the details. And so she just takes care of that for me. She just takes care of it. I don't have to worry about where I'm going. I just hop on her and she takes me there. And if you've never ridden bareback on a Pegasus, I highly encourage you to try it sometime. So especially if you are really good at astral traveling and journaling, you can literally feel, the wind in your hair, and you can feel the clouds and things like that. And part of the meditation that I'm giving you today is you are going to join me on a ride with Softwind. So, Patty, how do you tap into and find your guides or tell them that you're ready to meet them? I have a meditation that I'm going to give you. Lynn says, haha, love it. So here's the meditation that you're going to get. I guess this would be a really good time to give you this now. Let me switch over to this. You might see me disappear for a minute. Don't freak out. I'm still here. Okay. Here is the link for the PDF. I volunteer as tribute. Yes, Rachel said there are a few other workshops this week that will give you some techniques, Patty, along with the ones Christina will give you. Yes, so everybody has their own kind of take on it. And that's like the beauty of this whole entire event is that, we all kind of have our own individual take on it. Okay, here is the PDF. Rachel's freaking out. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of fun. Okay, so do the meditation. It's going to take you to meet your own unicorn guide. There's also a journal insert in there that you can utilize to kind of help you write down your thoughts and kind of journal out your thoughts after you get back from the meditation. And then I would love for you to share in the group. And the journal insert that I've given you is really just like it's an inspiration. It's not the whole of it. So if there are other things that you feel called to share about or to like write down or things that are important to you, definitely write that down. And I really recommend writing it down because that's what's going to actually make this something tangible for you. Does that make sense? So it's going to turn it into something a little bit more physical for you because you're going to be activating, you're activating the different parts of your brain when you write it out and you think about it. And then what I'd really love for you to do is go online and try to find an image of your unicorn as best as you can that resembles your unicorn as best as you can find. And then I want you to either create a vision board and put it on there digitally or print it out and hang it somewhere that you can see. And this will help you as an anchor. It'll help you as a magical anchor to where you have this available. And before you know it, you will spontaneously start working with that unicorn guide. So I can't wait. I love your meditations, Christina. I had an amazing experience with yours before. Excellent. This is kind of a short one. This is only like 15 minutes, so it doesn't take very long. But I tried to make it to where it was something like it wouldn't, you guys are here for an hour and a half at the workshop. I didn't want to give you an hour-long meditation. But I think that you'll like it. I really do think that you'll like it. Yes, no problem, Anna. Yes, great. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? I would like to open up the floor right now. Does anybody have any questions about unicorns before we go on to the raffle winners? Comments, questions, statements. If you want, you can just tell us what you learned from this or what your takeaway is. But I really just kind of want to open the floor right now and kind of invite you to share. And I would love to connect with you each individually. Kai says, I love this. Good. And I'll give it just a few moments because you know how Facebook always has that 60-second delay between what I say and when you hear it. Oh, and the quantum, yes. Rachel says, I seriously recommend Christina's Quantum Leap meditations. They're fantastic. Yes, especially if you get the bundle, which is, I can't remember, don't quote me on it, but I think it's like $44. And there's like 3 hours worth of meditations in there. So is anybody here familiar with Bert something or other, quantum leaping? Gosh, I'm so bad at Bert Goldman? Bert Goldman? That sounds familiar. Could I have a unicorn for a long time? Could I have a unicorn guide for a long time and then just suddenly found out recently like they can be there even though you weren't? Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I mean, this is probably a guide that's been with you for a really long time. And when you do the meditation, it may be just a different, and sometimes the unicorns will go away. They'll leave us. They'll wait until it's a good time to kind of come in. And the unicorn guide that you may have had in the past it could be the same guide, but there are, you evolve as a person, so do the unicorns also evolve. So if you do have a unicorn guide that has been with you, even though they have been with you, you kind of want to approach it like that you're meeting for the first time because like people, unicorns change as well. Yes, thank you. So worth it. I do it every new moon. What is your view on the commercialization of unicorns? I'm personally perfectly okay with that. I feel that the commercialization of unicorns is something that is a fad right now, but I'm happy that it's a fad because I think that um, more people need to experience the magic of unicorns, and not everybody is going to experience that and take it away as profoundly as we do, and that's okay. But I think in the world today that we have, with all the problems that we have, I feel that unicorns, are one of the least terrible things that we could turn into a fad and icon right now. I think that we actually need a little bit of goodness, and also, um, I also have so many unicorn things. Like I have so many unicorn statues, and I have unicorn horn, and I have unicorn necklaces, and I have unicorn tarot decks, and things like that. And I wouldn't be able to have these things if there wasn't that commercialization of unicorns. So I think I'm personally okay with it. I don't think it's disrespectful. Um, maybe some commercialization of unicorns would be disrespectful if they're doing certain things that aren't very unicorn-like, but I don't think that they take that personally. It can't be any worse than what we did to them by moving them to extinction. And with this says, I'm healing some aspect of my 4-year-old self this week. This part of me that I vowed to never move forward, and this is reconnecting me to the innocence. Really good talk, Christina. Yeah, I actually was diagnosed with BPD at 7 years old, and how I got diagnosed was the traits that I had. The book traits that I have is that I'm a splitter, which means that I dissociate, and I had a whole year and a half of my life that I have no memory of. I split. I did a split personality, and at 7 years old, I turned into someone totally different. And I had to go through therapy for a couple of years to bring me back to my true self. And I have definitely healed that BPD, but and it's something I've worked with. But I also feel like working with the unicorns is like helping me uncover these things that I have forgotten. Like I have a whole year and a half of my life that I do not remember. I don't remember any part of it. I was someone else. I was split during that time, at such a young age. And I feel like as I start working with the unicorns, I have faith that possibly that split personality perhaps will start integrating with my full personality, who I am now, and perhaps I will get my memory back. I've noticed that it was like a couple of years ago. I noticed I woke up one morning and I could remember my teacher's name during that year, whereas I had no idea who my teacher was, what my classroom was, who my friends were, what I did, the field trips we took, things like that. And I woke up one day and I remembered my teacher's name. So little tiny things like that are beginning to come back to me. Tatiana says, my niece who is turning 10 in a few weeks loves unicorns. What would be a good spiritual gift for her? I think you should. I mean, I'm really into stuffed animals. I think stuffed animals are like a childlike way of giving someone a thought form. So I would get her a stuffed animal, and you personally, as the aunt, I would take the stuffed unicorn and I would put Reiki into it. I would send healing energy into it. I would even possibly embed some sort of protective magical thought form into it, and I would gift that to her as like this unicorn guardian protector. That's what I would do for a 10-year-old. Yeah, there could be a lot worse things than unicorns, for sure. Pamela says, I used to blank out my past too. Wow, yeah, it's common. Patty, does everybody have a unicorn? No, not in the way that everybody has like a guardian angel, but I feel that the unicorns are there and that they'll work with anybody who is of sincere heart and mind. Like you have to be a very special person to get the attention of unicorns. You can't be a bad person, obviously. You can't have malice in your heart. You can have bad days and you can have, bad feelings sometimes, but if you are genuinely a good person and you truly believe in respecting everybody, you truly believe in not contributing negatively to the planet, if you believe and everybody's right to believe what they want to believe, if you believe in being a helping spirit, an angel on earth, an emissary on earth, then the angel or the angelic realm beings, the angels, the fairies, the unicorns, they will work with you. But it's something like you have to petition because not everybody is quote unquote good enough to work with them, if that makes sense. They're kind of very picky about who they will work with. Okay? Does that make sense? So it's not like everybody's born with a unicorn, but they are there to work with if you choose to work with them and if they choose to accept you into their herd, basically. Okay, so is everybody ready for prizes? Let me get up my raffle winners. Okay, so we have a lot of prizes to give away. Who wants to be my volunteer? Who will be my volunteer? I need this volunteer to tag the person that I'm going to mention. I need them to write what it is that they won, and I need them to also, yeah, that's it. Just tag the person's name and tell them what they won and whose presentation they won from. Who would like to be my assistant? My volunteer. And I'll spell names out and things like that, so you don't have to worry too much about that. Kai's, okay, thank you, Kai, so much. I really appreciate that. Okay, so the first person who has won, drum roll, Rachel Erazo, from her palmistry presentation, is gifting Maya Basas, M-A-I-A space B-A-S-A-S. She is gifting her a 48-hour pass to her Crone Academy, which is the ultimate divination school. If you have not heard of the Crone Academy, Rachel has been building that divination school up for almost a year now, and she's got courses on psychic development. She's got courses on reading tarot intuitively. She's coming up with a palmistry course. She's going to be doing runes. There's so many cool things that Rachel is going to be sharing. And she wants to gift Maya Basas a 48-hour weekend pass to the Crone Academy. Yes, Tatiana, yes. You got to tag her, Kai. So she sees it. Not the @ symbol. The @ symbol doesn't work. You got to type her name and then wait for her name to pop up and generate, and then click it. Okay, so how you claim that, Maya, is you're just going to message Rachel and she's going to set you up. Oh, okay. I got her. I got her. Okay. Since Rachel did 2 workshops, she's also going to be gifting out a second person a prize. She's going to be gifting out a psychic power session, which includes a 4-week psychic action plan to break down your doubts and beliefs about your psychic abilities. And she's going to help you over the course of a month. She's going to give you exercises to where she's going to teach you how to build a powerful base for your psychic abilities to actually flourish. And she's going to be gifting this to... Did I not look at that? Give me 1 second. I swear I'm organized. Rachel, who are you gifting the second one to? Hi, Maya. Good to see you. Maya, you won a 48-hour weekend pass to the Crone Academy. Compliments of Rachel Erazo. Rachel, who did you gift your second one to? I'm trying to go into the organizers group right now and see. For some reason, I didn't write it down. Give me 1 moment, guys. Sorry about that. Oh, Amandine Discar. Amandine Discard. Okay, Amandine space Descartes. It's a French name. Amandine Descard. Yep. So Amandine, you have won a psychic power session, which includes a 4-week action plan for you. I got her. I got her. Okay, the next person who won a gift is Susan Moore. Is going to be giving away a tarot mentoring bundle. It's a 30-minute session, and for the first 15 minutes, she's going to be doing a tarot reading with you, and then the last 15 minutes is a Q&A session. And her session is about helping you find some of the blocks that are preventing you from reading tarot, or maybe working through some of your beliefs about tarot that may be interfering with your practice or your ability to charge for your services. Susan is really good at dispelling myths about tarot. So if you have like these misconceptions that you've heard about tarot, Susan is really good at dispelling those. And let's see. Melinda Ann Gevert. Melinda Ann Gevert. Melinda Ann Gevert, you have won a 30-minute tarot mentoring session with Susan Moore. That's a good one. That's a good prize. Yes. Thank you, Kai. You guys are great. Thank you for helping me. It is really hard to do this all at the same time. Okay, the next person who is gifting a prize is Krista Fournier. Krista did the empath workshop with the empath and emotional vampires. That was one of the most popular ones too. It was a really good workshop. Krista is going to be gifting an empath empowerment mini tarot reading, which is going to go over how to help you kind of identify the type of empath that you are, and to help you create a plan of action on how to manage your empathic abilities. And Krista is gifting the empath empowerment mini tarot reading to Pamela Jones. Pamela Jones. Pamela, are you still here? All right. The next gift that's going to be given out, Victoria, who did the Harness the Power of the Dragons workshop. She is going to be gifting out a signed copy of her book. Her book is called Everybody's Psychic, I Just Get Paid For It. And so if you are interested in learning how to develop your psychic abilities, and you are interested in learning how to awaken your psychic abilities, and you're looking for a coach that does that sort of thing, who has a lot of, she's read for the Kardashians, so she's a celebrity reader. She is going to be gifting that gift to Jenny Lacasano. Jenny Lacasano. Jenny Lacasano, you have won a signed copy of Everybody's Psychic, I Just Get Paid For It from Victoria. All right, the next person is Marissa. Marissa did the plant spirits, plant allies, and the nature devas, working with the plant spirits and things like that. That was a really good workshop, really good one. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time listening to that one, because it was just so fascinating, and I love the part especially when she blew into the crystal, and that was really cool. That was really neat. So Marissa is gifting a chakra tarot reading with a custom herbal ally recommendation and an additional healing action plan delivered by Facebook Messenger. So it's not a live session, but it's a recording, and she's going to be gifting that to Lena Tromier. Lena Tromier. Lena Tromier has won the chakra tarot reading with custom herbal ally recommendation. Okay, Susie did Frolicking Through the Forest with the God and Goddess with that awesome headdress. Susie is going to be gifting a 30-minute session. And Susie is a Wicca, witchcraft, magical life coach and mentor. So she's her specialty is about creating magical practice, rituals, um, theology about Wicca, what it means to be a witch, all that sort of thing, coming out of the broom closet, all that stuff. Susie's gifting a 30-minute witchy mentorship session where you can talk about witchcraft, witches, the god and goddess, and pretty much anything. Susie's really cool. She is going to be gifting that to Amanda Spencer. Amanda Spencer. Amanda Spencer. 30-minute witchy mentorship session. Lisa Van Galen, Lisa who did our Dragon Allies talk this morning, which was fantastic. Lisa is offering a choice for her winner. All right, Patty, I'll see you later. Thank you for joining us. Lisa is going to be gifting one of two choices, so you can choose. She's going to be gifting either a past life reading or a mediumship reading. It's your choice. And she is going to be gifting this to Hyacinth Light. Hyacinth Light. So if you are a winner, go ahead and inbox the person who is gifting you the gift so you guys can set that all up. And as far as who is going to be winning the 48-hour passes to the mentorship program, I have to sit and think about that for a moment, but I will be back. I'll do a post in the group, and I will let the people know who won, and I'll congratulate them for that. Okay? We are at 444, the time 444. So that's an angel number. That's time for me to say goodbye. I will post in the group here in a little bit, and don't forget, you have all next week to watch the replays. So I will see you in the group, and thank you so much for making this event a success, and thank you for inviting your friends and sharing our event with the people that you love in your groups and your pages and your newsletters. I've seen all of that. I see all the tagging going on, all of the sharing going on, and if it wasn't for you guys, this wouldn't have been half as successful as it was. So I will see you in the Facebook group, and if you need anything in the meantime, if you have any questions about unicorns, or you want to share your experience about your unicorn guide meditation, I would love to hear from you. So you can either inbox me or go ahead and post in the group. All right, have a good Friday. Have a good weekend, and I will see you all on Monday.